Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah. Ahlan sahlan. I'm really sorry I'm late. I couldn't, the link wasn't working when I was typing it in. So, ahlan sahlan and good morning everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Salatu salam ala khatir al-anbiya Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi sahbihi ajma'in. This is our November live stream and we do this every month, and I recognize some of your names that are on the back here, and I hope you're doing well and you're taking care of yourselves and you have all of the energy and strength in the world that you need, that we all need. So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Today we're talking about adab in action. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah to all of you that are giving me salam. Salam alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to everyone who is here. Ifshu salam, the Prophet said. Ifshu salam. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Okay, so I'm just making sure that I guess my audio is fine. I have a little note on the side that asks me a question about that. I guess I'm fine, or I would have been told so. Okay. All right, so let's start. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Adab in action. Talk the talk and walk the walk. This is a very important discussion today because we have a lot of work to do. And in the work that we have to do, we don't want anything we do to jeopardize our Jannah, to jeopardize our next life, or to jeopardize our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In fact, we want the work we do to bring us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to increase our status or level in Jannah, increase our chances for Jannah. And we want to remember during all of our hard work, which we're going to talk about the work in a minute, during all of our hard work, we always want to remember our purpose on this earth and what that means for who we are as human beings. Okay, so let's start first with the place that you've heard in khutbahs and you've heard in classes, you've heard it everywhere, which is the idea of intention. If we were in a large room right now, most of you could shout out the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, that work is in the intention. And you would know what that means. You would know exactly what that means. Now, I want to just talk a little bit about intention because our work is in our intention, but there are a couple of things that we have to focus on. One is we have to make sure that we hold on to our intention and remember why we're doing the things that we're doing. And second, we want to have a clear intention that is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So first of all, let's talk about holding on to our intention. The metaphor or analogy that I like to use for intention is the one of a toddler. Now, either you've had a toddler at home as a mother or you have had a toddler at home as a sibling. Or you've met a toddler before as a cousin. I mean, we all know what toddlers do. I have a 3-year-old in the house, but she was not too long ago a toddler. And the toddler is, if you put the toddler in the living room, right, and you say, okay, sit right here, and then you get up and go somewhere, what happens? The toddler moves. If you ask the toddler to be at the table, and then you go to the toddler's going to move. If you put a toddler on a chair, and you look away, you answer your phone, or you look in your WhatsApp for a few minutes, where is the toddler going to be? In the bathroom, in the toilet, drinking the water, God forbid. So toddlers are notorious for running around when we're not paying attention. And that's the same as your intention. So you can start out with a really beautiful intention that you are working fi sabilillah, that you are working for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you're working for the betterment of humanity, to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And shaitan can come and whisper to you, or you yourself can start getting ego involved, and your intention will change. And I especially want to talk about this concept of ego, because when we're working for good, for khair, this is the place that shaitan comes first, to our ego, and says, are you being honored? Are you being thanked? Are you being appreciated? Do people see the work you're doing? Are you recognized? Are you all those kinds of things? And so what happens is you lose your intention, and instead of working fi sabilillah, you're working fi sabili your intention, your ego, your ego. And that is the work of shaitan. That is the 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 life of shaitan. Shaitan, what happened with shaitan? Shaitan, we were created, and it was the ego of shaitan that that pushed him to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Clear disobeying. And then, after disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, refusal to repent. That is ego. It's ego, it's arrogance, it's ego. So when you have a problem with someone that you're working with, fi sabilillah, I'm not talking about work now, because at work, subhanallah, at work, we are getting a salary, we're working. Very often we have an easier time overcoming our ego. We have an easier time overcoming our ego because it's for the job, it's money, we know our place. I don't really know why we have an easier time, but for some reason we do. But when we start working for fi sabilillah, we start volunteering, what happens? Our ego, you didn't tell me. You didn't thank me. Whatever it is. And then we, not only do we start off with ego, we respond to our ego with making it stronger. And so we lose our intention. Our deed that we're doing now is no longer for Allah, it's for ourselves. So if you're doing a good deed, then you've done something for yourself. The reward is, the intention is gone. So that's the first thing I want to say about intention. Hold on to your intention. Hold on to it so that you hold yourself to your intention, that the work you're doing, the activism you're doing, the studying you're doing, whatever you're doing, we'll talk about activism in a minute, whatever you're doing that is going to be defined as activism, that it is fi sabilillah, for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, for the sake of God Almighty, for His pleasure, the pleasure of God. So that's number one. Hold on to that intention. Hold on to it and protect yourself from the ego that will come. It will come. Your ego that will come. Secondly, with your intention, it's important to take time and think about what your intention is. Now, once you get into practice with your intention, it should get easier. But whenever you're going to embark upon something new, especially if you're doing something that's an emotional reaction, a visceral reaction, you want to push the pause button just for a moment. People around you might not even notice that you're pausing. Push the pause button just for a moment and make dua. Turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and say, Ya Allah, this is for you. Ya Allah, I'm doing this for you. Help me keep my dua, my intention focused. Help me in this way to keep my intention focused on you, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Okay? Alright, so first we start off with intention. Now, let's talk about action. What are the different kinds of action that are either we're doing or might be needed? Yesterday at the bookstore at daybreak, we had a wonderful guest, Dr. Saad, who wrote Muslim Cool, Religion, Race, and Hip Hop in the United States. And she is, if you don't know her, she's a professor at Purdue, graduate of Princeton. she reminded me that we met each other when I lived in Syria, and she came there as well and got Islamic Studies certificate from Mahad Noor. An amazing woman, mashallah. Now, what did she say towards the end when she talked about what we need? She said we need to protect ourselves, take care of ourselves. There's a third one, I'm not sure, but the fourth one that I want to address is, and resist. We need to resist, she said. So what do we need to resist? Well, we will need to resist laws if they are enacted and they are unjust. When we're talking about resisting, we're talking about possibilities. And we're talking about any reality that anybody has, any prejudice or racism that you've seen towards yourself or towards anyone else. That's the other thing. We've got to, as Muslims, we've got to be the one who loves for herself, for her brother, what she loves for herself, for her sister, what she loves for herself. And we are sisters and brothers of all of humanity. So if we want justice, we have to be sure that we hope and pray for the justice of everyone around us. Not only the popular group, not only the group that is today popular, but the unpopular. Not only the popular cause, but the unpopular one. We have to care about it. We know very well the Prophet ﷺ's hadith where he talks about nasiha and what is the best kind of nasiha. And he says the best kind is to do something, right? To do something. The second best kind, do something with your hand. The second best kind is to do something with your tongue, to speak. And the third best, he says, is a change of the heart. Well, this is how it's usually translated. First best, second best, third best. I would say that when we look at this hadith and we look at the Quran, which tells us to do what is best, allati ahsan. The Quran calls us to what is best. When we are thinking about action in anything, we are asked to do what is best. In Jewish history, they were asked, and the Quran talks about this, an eye for an eye. Something bad happens, you do something bad back. Something justice. An eye for an eye is justice. The Christians were asked to turn the other cheek. Mercy. Absolute mercy without any justice. And Muslims, we are asked to strike a balance, to find what is best. Is this a moment of justice or a moment of mercy? And we as a community, we are focused on social justice, to be sure. Well, we are learning to focus on social justice. When I was at Princeton a month ago in October, and I heard Sheikh Hamza speak, he said what we need, he said it as a sort of an offhand comment, but I really appreciate it. He said we need a social mercy movement. And I would like to really think about that for a minute with you. We need a social mercy movement, and we are now in this space, or we are building a movement. Aren't we in that space? I think we are. And so I would say we need to think very deeply about what does it mean to have a social mercy movement. Now, as Muslims, we will want to find the middle way. We will want justice and mercy. We want both. But I believe in these times we need to lean towards mercy. In these times of fear and terrible weaponry and crimes and people that are so distant from a connection to Allah and from basic moral values. We need to focus on mercy, because when we focus on mercy, things will change. Or at least we'll be able to talk to people. So adab in action, we need to think about mercy as we think about what we're going to do. So we think about this word resistance. I usually think about protesting and getting out there and social media protesting and on the street protesting, all this. And while certainly that is part of it, I don't know that it keeps us in our silos. Now, don't misunderstand me to say that I am somehow not for protests. No. And they're important for legislation. They're important to get your voice heard. But I want to just focus on something else right now, which is the idea of discourse and talking. Adab in action. Are you capable of talking with someone who is comfortable? That's the key word. Who is comfortable in their intellectual space, in their opinion? Are you capable of helping someone transform from their opinion to another? Because that's what we need. And in order to help someone do that, we have to have mercy. We absolutely have to have mercy. Mercy towards them, mercy towards their way they think, and a true heart full of mercy and wood. Wood is it's love, but it's a different kind of love. It's the mercy that we have for our child when they wake you up the 15th time at night and they're in pain and you're not mad. You have wood, you have love. You love them and you feel bad for their situation. And you know, and you're okay. It's okay that you're uncomfortable. It's okay that you're uncomfortable. That's what we need. We need to be okay. We need to have the kind of love for our fellow human that makes it okay for us to be uncomfortable so that we can help them get uncomfortable and transform their thinking. That's where we have to be. So we need to think about mercy. And we need to think about what that means. Now, before I follow that train of thought, I want to jump back a minute and talk about the train of thought of activism, organizing, committee meetings, going out into the streets, and all of that. And I want to say right here and right now that that place is probably the most important place to carry your Islamic adab. And I say that out of experience of seeing people who were fired up for Allah, fired up. And when they walked into the space of activism, they lost their 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 practice. They lost their practice. And there is no cause worth losing your practice of Islam, because losing the practice of Islam will lead to losing faith, and it will lead to losing your afterlife. And we have to be absolutely certain of our belief in this world and the next world and the afterlife. And know that the work you're doing here is very important, but nothing is more important than what is forever. And the only thing that is forever is al-akhirah. What do I mean? I want to be very clear and concrete here. So I'm going to give you an example of someone that I know. She came to me and she said that she wanted to protest something somewhere. And it was dangerous, so I asked her, do your parents know? Because it's important that her parents were involved in that decision since she was risking her life. Yes, she said. Then I understood her to say they were fine with it. And she wasn't with me to discuss whether she was going to do it, but actually to inform me. So I said to her, I want to just give you one piece of advice. When you are going to these highly charged emotional places, go without makeup, without getting dressed up, without fancy clothes, and know that you're going for Allah, not going for people to say you've gone or for people to say, look how cute she is. Now, you may find me silly to talk about these things, but activism, shaitan is very good. Is very good at what he does. And activism is a place of a lot of emotion, bubbling emotion in committee meetings, at the mosque, at at school, wherever you are having your meetings. It's a place of great emotion, and it's very easy to refocus And it's very easy to be thinking that as you go there, so is so and so going to think I look good in this? Hold on to your adab. Go to your activism, not made up, not dressed up. Activism not to be dressed up. Go with your purpose and your modesty intact. By modesty, I mean your hijab. And wherever you are in the stage of hijab, because we have a lot of people on here today, and I recognize that you will all be different. Wherever you are in the stage of hijab, don't let your activism take you back. Let it take you forward. Don't let your activism take you back. Let it take you forward. So if you are a person who doesn't wear makeup, don't start wearing makeup because now you're mixing with some cute boys at the activism camp. If you are a person who does wear makeup, think to yourself, maybe I won't wear it when I'm going here because there's a lot of emotion. I want to really focus on fi sabilillah. Work on stretching yourself as you call on others to stretch themselves. And let me be very clear about that. Activism is a call for other people to stretch themselves and learn something new. Even when we're talking about changing legislation, we're talking about asking people to understand why you want that legislation changed, to find your narrative important enough, your points important enough to make that change. So be the person don't be the person who says, I want you to stretch, but I'm not willing to. We will never be able to get people to stretch in their thinking unless we're willing to stretch in our thinking. So you need to stretch, and because and we if we are going, look, people, if we are going to be persecuted for our religion, we better be holding on to our religion, so we deserve the persecution. We're going to and if we are going to be standing with others, we better hold on to our religion so that we stand as representative of those who wish they could stand with them, of our faith, who for whatever reason they can't on that day. Adab in action means holding on to your core Muslim adab, even in activism. And part of your core Muslim adab is growth. We are a people of tazkiyah and getting better. So we need to balance and walk a walk where, as we call on our society to change and grow, we ourselves have to be changing and growing. And my next point about activism or adab is, are we willing to talk to those who don't want to talk to us? Are we willing to find a way to talk to them? Are we willing to find a way to communicate with them or to try to create relationships with them? The Prophet ﷺ asked us to take care of our neighbors. In many, many, many narrations, the Prophet ﷺ said that he thought the neighbor might inherit. That's how important the neighbor is. So are we willing to to outreach to our neighbors? Or do they scare us too much? And so we're going to go down and we're going to do activism on social media, and we're going to be furious on social media, and we're going to go downtown and, protest. But when it comes to our neighbors, we're too nervous to talk to them. Well, if you're nervous talking to them, how do they feel talking to you? And that's where the real work is. The anonymous work, it's not the same as the person-to-person work. And the problem, our religion has taught us how to treat people, to stand for our elders. SubhanAllah, I have a story for you, even though it's a very minor story, but I feel like it's significant in what we're talking about today. There was a some resistance to my work in a space. That's all I want to say. In a space. And some resistance to me as well. And I knew this, but I hadn't been told. But I knew that it was there. And I ended up in that space for another reason. And when you know people don't like you, when you know people have said things about you, what do you feel like doing? You feel like sitting there, crossing your arms, and especially if you're not even there to meet that person who you knew was the one who wasn't necessarily on your side or was maybe making life hard for you. Or in our world that we're talking about now, on the other side of the street, so to speak. Well, there I was, and the head person that had been in that place walked into the room. He's older than me, and so my natural adab reaction was to stand. He's older than me, so I stood up. He was floored. Now, mind you, he understood what standing, he felt the adab behind it. He couldn't believe it. I could tell. We gave salams to one another, and he walked out. I saw him again in those same couple hours I was in that space. And his demeanor had changed towards me. And I saw him again maybe a month later, and now I don't know if he's a supporter or not, but I felt that many steps had been taken towards that. What I'm saying to you is the little details of adab are important. In the middle of this work, when your emotions are flying, when you're angry, remember that anger is not the emotion that we want. Because not between each other, because then we lose it burns good deeds, the Prophet ﷺ said. We need to be in control of our emotion so we can control our intention, and so that we can bring adab to the table. Now that's within our committees, because also what happens? You start working together and then you split because you get mad. No, work together. And it also means with those that we meet from the other way of thinking, when we have adab with them, we can still make our points with adab. It's not making your point when you're swearing. It's not making your point when you're yelling. It's not making a point. It's just putting people on defense. You're not gaining them. You're not growing. We need to make sure that we are people who don't swear. Absolutely do not swear. There are words that should never come out of your mouth or your fingers. Never. When you're really, really angry, and if it comes out, you need to make tawbah. Tawbah is your friend in this work, because it's emotional work, and you'll make mistakes. Tawbah is your friend. As intention is your friend, tawbah is your friend. Repentance is your friend. Make sure that people don't associate Muslims with swearing. Have adab of the tongue. Say good things to people. Have adab of the body. Hold your body in respectful ways. Have adab of your interactions. Be good to one another. And outside of the activism, create relationships. Create relationships. Visit the sick. Attend funerals. Be human, not just on social media. Go to people, meet with them, talk to them. Attend events. But with adab, with good behavior. The energy, some people are afraid right now. Some people are afraid. And even, I was on the plane last weekend. When I got on the plane, my seat was right next to a white man. And my first thought was, oh my God, did he vote for Trump? Did he, is he a hater? And that thought is a thought that's going through many of our minds. We had an event last night at daybreak with, there had to have been 75 people there, of which we had a number of Matajbe women wearing the scarf. And because we had so many, we had to have it in the front of the store, right in front of the big picture window. And one of the young men who was there last night, he asked me, he's a high school student. He asked me, how does it feel to, and there was a game yesterday. So after the game, people were walking past this window, people who have been drinking, and sort of a crowd that's a bit not, it could be construed as an unsafe crowd. And he said, how does that feel to have these white men who've been drinking, walking past the window and seeing everyone in here? And my first reaction was, it feels empowering, because they see us, and they see us strong, and they see us together, and they see us. I mean, when are they seeing us in their spaces? When do white men see Matajbe Muslim women in their spaces? When do they see us? At work? Maybe a few. In class? A few, yeah. But we're not really in their space. So in a store on the street they're walking on from the stadium, that's their space. So, but I know that people are afraid, and I know that you're feeling scared, and I know that you're feeling worried. And my suggestion to you is, if you're very worried, stop watching all the information about the cabinet. Remember, there are things you can do nothing about. Nothing. You cannot control who's elected or appointed. You can control who's elected by voting, but you can't control who's appointed in spaces to the cabinet and what have you. Work on your inner strength. Work on creating alliances with the people around you, and don't get overwhelmed by anything. Don't get overwhelmed. There's nothing to be overwhelmed about. Allahu Akbar. We say it all the time. Allah is greater. Allah is greater than all things. I don't care what it is. I don't care what the problem or situation is. Allahu Akbar. Allah is greater than that. And we are going to grow, and we are going to talk the talk, and we're going to walk the walk. We're going to do it with adab. We're going to do it with good character and good behavior in our words and in our actions and in our intentions. The last thing I want to say is, remember through all of this that you are the only one responsible for yourself and your family, and you are responsible for your family. As you're doing your work, no one's going to say to you, if you start missing prayers, no one's going to say to you, well, I'm saying it to you right now, don't miss prayers for this work. If you're missing prayers, you need to push the pause button and find out why. Go deep and then go strong. I want that to be your motto. Go deep and then go strong. Don't go strong from shallow waters. Because the wave that comes from shallow waters is really not very strong anyway. Go deep and then go strong. Go deep through your worship. Go deep through your thought process. Think deeply. The most important thing we need right now, I'll say this, the most important thing, the thing that is fighting against us, is a myth about us. It's a story. It's a narrative about Muslims. What is fighting against us now is a story and a narrative about Muslims that says that we are violent, that says that we are un-American. This myth says that we as Muslims are un-American, that we're not real Americans. That's what the myth says, and we all know that. What we need to do is to create a new narrative, a strong narrative, the narrative that tells the truth, the narrative of who we are as Americans, who we are as citizens of this global world. Those who are joining us from other countries, we also need our narrative is global. It is a global that we are positive wherever we live. The countries want us because we are the citizens that work hard. That's the story we want to live, and that's the story we want to tell. If you are a writer, that's the story we want to write on social media. We want to write the story of the work we do, contributions we do. That little film about Chobani yogurt, it's amazing. It tells the story of what we as Muslims do. We need to change the narrative and change the myth. And that's another reason why we need adab in our action. We are already labeled with 1,000 things. And they're not true. I know they're not true, but we have to deal with the reality of the label. And we have to think. And we need to move beyond that label to a truth. So we should be telling our truth. Well, this is what I'm saying, but that is the new one that people need to hear, is what I'm saying. When I say new, I don't mean to make something up. Let me be very clear. I don't mean to make something up, but I'm saying that there's a narrative being told, and we need to have a louder narrative that drowns that narrative out. That's what I'm saying. Our class, Islam in America, that we teach at Rabata is probably the most important class right now. The learning that's going on there about who we are as Muslims in America. I mean, there's a wealth of knowledge there. And actually, what I would like to do is at least make the reading list available for people so that they know. If our Daybreak folk that are on here could figure out a way to make that reading list available, let's work on that. We need to find all sorts of ways to tell our narrative. And again, when I say new, I mean new as in we need to remove the narrative that we've allowed to be told because we've been in our silos, we've been sitting alone, we didn't really care what they said about us because we cared only about ourselves and what we were doing. We need to step outside and we need to bring people in, bring people out, and we need to create a new narrative. What I mean by that is we need to be loud enough and have enough places that we're speaking that the real narrative globally, not just in America, globally, the narrative of Muslims as great citizens, Muslims as people who love one another. If I say to you, good Christian, what do you think? I don't know what you think. But there is a myth out there that tells us that a myth or a story out there, a narrative out there that tells us that a good Christian is a person who is smiling and good and giving charity. If I say good Muslim, what do you think? What do you think? Now, I hope amongst Muslims that you think good things. But unfortunately, even amongst Muslims, when you say good Muslim, it has meant a person who is not active, who's in the mosque, who is focused and quiet, and maybe a little rude to people. How horrible is that? Even within our own community. No longer. We need to have the story has to be our adab. The story needs to be our adab. The narrative needs to be our adab and how we speak and how we live and what we do and the hard work we've done. Our contributions, as Maryam said. Our contributions. In the past and in the present. Who we are, what we're doing in business and life and our families. Even how we're contributing as mothers, as soccer moms. Adab in action. We are, the Prophet ﷺ told us that adab is half of our faith. The Prophet ﷺ told us in many, many different narrations and demonstrated to us even is really important that adab wins. Adab always wins. And so we need to be kind to one another and have good manners and speak well of one another. And we need to reach out. Now, some of you have family members you're reaching out to. Reach out to them with love. Don't cut people off unless they cut you off. Don't cut people off. Reach out with love. Step by step. Take them. We have a couple of different things going on in this world today. We have a racism, bigoted, sexist river that we need to dam, stop. And then we have an underlying fight against Muslims and who we are, a story being told about us that is wrong, that we're letting other people tell, and we need to tell. So I sort of went to a different space there at the end of the talk. It's very important to me that in all of this work we have the best adab as possible, and we think a lot. And when we make mistakes, that we make tawbah. We need to remember that this is the life that Allah chose you for. This is the era that Allah chose you for. This is the time that Allah chose you for. You have been chosen. Those of you living in the United States, you have been chosen to live in this time. There's work for you to do, and you can handle it. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. You can handle it. You are strong. Go deep and go strong. Michelle Obama says, when they go low, we go high. I agree with that. That's very Islamic. It's very Islamic. But we want to go deep and then go strong. So go deeply into your worship, into your thoughts, into your reflection, and come out strong in your work, in your discourse with those who feel differently than you, in the committee meetings and organizing that you're doing. Strong and available and polite. Polite and kind. I don't know that I've used that word this time. Part of adab is just being polite. Just being polite to one another. Just saying good words, being polite. We have to be polite. And that includes your face. That includes your face. When someone is being when this you need to be polite, and that includes your face, and not going, that face is not a good face. That's not a face of Islam. It's not a face of the Prophet ﷺ. Don't roll your eyes at people. Don't have an ugly face. Have the beautiful face of faith. Serious face, absolutely. Strong face, absolutely. Walk strong, walk tall. Carry the depth within you. And I'm going to keep on repeating the same hadith I've been repeating since November 8th. Ifshu salam, ta'amu ta'am, qum al-laylu nas niyam. I feel like these are the three things we need the most. Spread peace. Spread peace in all the ways we've said already. Ta'amu ta'am, feed people. Just keep on feeding them. Keep on feeding people. Feed your neighbors. Feed people. Qum al-laylu nas niyam. Get up at night when others are sleeping. Make dua. Go deep in that night time so you can go strong. And we can raise this community to maqam al-mahmuda, a status, a praiseworthy status, which is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to the Prophet ﷺ in the Quran when told to stand up at night for tahajjud, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might raise you to maqam al-mahmuda, a praiseworthy status, which we are not at right now. What is it, Malika? I spent a lot of time being frustrated. He said something to the effect that we can't, as James Baldwin said, live in a constant state of rage. And to live in anger means that white supremacist has won. Yes, thank you. That's beautiful. The Prophet ﷺ had his own people fight against him until he had to leave and go to Medina. Against him and all of his companions. And still we have Bilal, who is recorded as getting up at night to pray and making dua for the Quraysh. We can't live in a constant state of rage. We have to have good adab and good love. We have to have wood. So takeaways for today. I want you to think about social mercy. And that space where we are out there seeking mercy for everyone and all people. All people. I want you to think about wood and love, this love, that we need to love people so that we can understand one another. I want you to be serious about your adab, your outer clothing, your outer actions, how you speak, your tongue, how you hold your body. And in that ifshu salam, make sure that you are spreading peace. Focus on your intention and make sure that your intention every day is for Allah. And make sure that you're not in a situation where you're fighting with people, but rather you're in situations where you're bringing people together. If emotions are being crazy, be the one to calm everyone down. Finally, remember that our life here is a preparation for the next one. We want to be happy when we see the movie of our lives, happy and proud. And Allah chose you for this time. So make it a good movie. Make your life a good movie. Make it a beautiful space. Be proud of it. Be a person who's reaching out. Be a person who's peaceful and calm and has rida of this time that you have been chosen to live in. Have adab with Allah, adab with the Prophet, adab with yourself, and adab with those around you. Okay, I've gone on quite a long time. Adab with Allah means that you have rida for where you are today, that you're pleased, that you accept and are pleased with the situation, whatever it is. Adab with the Prophet ﷺ is that you imitate him in his interactions with people. Adab with yourself is that you respect yourself and you hold on to your religion and you care and you have self-care. And adab with others is everything else we've been talking about today. Allah iftah alaykum. May Allah make you strong. I'm with you. I got your back. We have each other's backs. We are all in this world together. We need to really grow whatever it is that you're doing. Whatever it is that you're doing, make sure that you're doing it and doing it with adab. I'm being reminded to tell you that on Cyber Monday, we will have a Cyber Monday sale. Can you put out that flyer, please, guys? We'll have a Cyber Monday sale, which will be 20% off of your purchase through Daybreak. So go get some activism books. We've got lots of activism books about how to be an activist, what to do. We have one called Rules for Radicals. It's a good book. Get your books and read them up. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hold you in the loving embrace of this ummah. And may you be part of that which is embracing others. Be part of the hug. Be part of the hug. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Our next live stream will be December 18th, inshallah. December 18th. Assalamu alaikum.